Yes, guys, is another episode 19 of Fight Talk Live. You're here today with the full force, the Fab Four. It's Danny Glover, it's Maestro, it's Base the Kid, it's October Red. You know where it is. How you doing today, guys? Great to see you all here.
Great to
Happy
see
to
you
be here.
guys. Yeah,
Been a while.
absolutely. It's been a while. It's been so long that I never got to talk to you guys about my guy Big Bang getting banged by Ajit Kabayo. You
Shit.
know, that was big right
Shit.
there. So it's been a while. It's been that. I don't think we discussed that card together, but yeah, lots happened. A lot to discuss. You know, we had a Eubank fighting last Friday. I'm sure you guys want to talk about that.
Yep, there was three shows on Friday
Hmm.
actually, so that was actually more action packed. The Friday was than the Saturday, to be fair. So
What was
yeah,
on Saturday?
I don't even know.
Nothing was on Saturday,
I was
really.
about to say, what did I miss?
No, we had the Price and Jonas fight on
Yeah,
Friday. There's the
Friday.
Wasserman card,
Mm.
right? There was some pro. Oh, there was Pro
And Pro
Box. There was
Box
Pro
was
Box last night. Yeah,
Oh, I missed that, Sars.
kind of their developmental series from Pro Box. Yeah.
Yeah, we had Sean Noakes, Ezra Taylor on Friday at
Mm.
York Hall with Frank Warren. Your boy Elliot Massey, his opponent pulled out or something like that.
Oh, my little
So
cherub. He didn't get to fight.
yeah, he didn't get to fight unfortunately. But yeah, so yeah,
Not that I knew and sent him a message of well wishes.
okay. But yeah,
We had the Dillian White pulling out of the Joe Joyce fight happen as
Yeah,
well.
Fingergate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen the finger? Jeez.
Mm.
yeah, that
Pretty
was
bad.
That was bad. So yeah, where should we start this week, guys? I think it would only be right. I think we should start with the International Women's Day
Mm.
card at the Royal Albert Hall
Mm.
with the all women's card with the main event Natasha Jonas versus Lauren Price. Um, let's start with the Caroline Dubois versus Bomi Ho
Shin.
Shin.
Ray,
Um,
not Ho.
sorry.
He's Ray, not Ho.
Oh, sorry. Bomi Ray Shin. Um, yeah. So
Rewind.
I thought Shin arrived prepared and gave it her best. I mean, you could still see the skills gap there, but she was definitely in shape.
Tough
And
as
towards
hell.
the end of the fight, she was really landing that right hand. I was actually quite impressed by Shin, to be honest with you.
Impressed and worried.
So yeah. So what did you think of the fight overall, then, Maestro?
Well, here's the thing. That was actually the first fight I saw on the card, right? Because it was a Friday, so your evening is my afternoon here in New York City. So by the time I got home, the card was well underway, and I tuned in to that one maybe halfway through the fight. So I saw the last half of the fight, and I'm like, wow, this. I mean, granted, they are 2-minute rounds, but you know, her stamina's good. She's clearly physically very strong. Technique obviously was a little bit rough, but overall, she was able, like I said earlier, she was landing that straight right hand on Caroline Dubois. And I think they definitely got to go back to the drawing board and back to the gym and start working on that, because if Caroline Dubois wants to take off on some of the top tier fighters in this division, and as you guys know, the talent in women's boxing is in the lower weight classes. With all due respect to Clarissa Shields and her, list of opponents, you do have highly skilled fighters in and around that weight class. So, I think that there was a little bit of a deficiency there on defense that was exploited to some success, not enough to win the fight, but I definitely was quite surprised at how often she was able to land that straight right hand.
Yeah, I hear that. October, what's your thoughts on the fight? And do you feel some people say that they feel Caroline was it maybe a bit exposed in there tonight? Sorry, on Friday night. Some people thought uh, Bomi Raishin was better than they expected. What's your thoughts on it all?
I think Base queued me up on who Bowl was. He said she's a solid fighter. She's ranked, obviously, I think she's ranked at number one. Which governing body? I can't remember base, but you.
WBC at Super Feather.
Okay. So base kind of like tipped me that this young lady is not going to be a pushover. I met her at the press conference, but unfortunately I didn't get her on camera. But she seemed quite confident from the press conference, and she was tough as, excuse my French, she was tough as shit, because
Mm,
Caroline was really throwing at her, and she was literally like just shaking the shots off, like shaking herself, like to say, nah. And she kept on coming forward. I do agree with Maestro that her form was off, because sometimes when she'd throw the shots, it's like she'd put too much weight into it and spin herself, so she was off balance. So yeah, a little bit of tightening up in that if I'm gonna start picking at stuff. But she was a real good challenge. Um, she took Caroline into deep waters. I'm not saying that Caroline's been exposed. It was a tough fight. You've got to think Caroline's been battering everyone she's been in the ring with. So we've set a standard for Caroline. So she's come up against decent competition, and it's been a good fight. Yeah, Caroline won, but I wouldn't say she's been exposed at all. It was just a real tough fight, a live opponent, and yes, please, more of those. But you could see on Caroline's face at the end of it, she looked disappointed. It was
mm.
almost like she was like, "Nah, how's this just happened? How have I let her get that comfortable?" Because every time she got inside, Bo seemed to love it inside. That was her favorite bit. Yeah, let's exchange. When I was thinking, Caroline, you just need to probably box and move. She just went in there to try and trade with her, but the girl did not respect Caroline's power whatsoever. But I enjoyed watching it though. So yeah, we'll see what happens next. I've seen her and Terry Harper going backwards and forwards on Twitter again. So I think Shalom's done an interview and he said, should Terry come through her next opponent, which I believe she's fighting on a GBM card, then it's Terry and Caroline next. And good evening to the chat, by the way. Happy Sunday. And that's my take on that.
Yes, thank you very much. Base, you was there in attendance. You was actually ringside. You managed to
Okay.
get even. Base was working that pugilistic magic. I was up high in the rafters a bit, but Base got down. Up close and personal. So yeah,
Low down and dirty
how
base.
how exactly? So what was your
And you
take
got to
when you?
get in them crevices, you know.
Hey, hey!
Yeah, how was it up being up close and personal in the Royal Albert Hall? And
Yeah, look, it was a really good fight. I knew it would be. Just before the fight started, I was actually speaking with Savage Dan, and he was telling me that he thinks Caroline's gonna get a knockout because Shin is so tough and so come forward. He felt like she's gonna walk onto
Walk on.
one.
Okay.
I said to him, even if she walks onto it, she'll walk through it. And when he was walking off to go sit in his seat, he's like, "I got Caroline 7th round KO." I said, "Nah, this is getting points," and I said, "Unanimous decision." And he looked at me like,
You was
"Yeah,
mad.
sure." And only one of us was right then. Sorry, but look, when it comes down to it, the funny thing is, I've seen Bomi and I've seen many of her fights.
Mm.
For at least like the last 3 years I've known who she is. Actually a little bit longer than that. And she was also on that Physical 100 show from Korea as well. On Netflix, if anyone's ever watched that. She
All
was
right.
actually on there with Hyun Mi Choi at one point, and
Oh,
she
no.
she beat up Hyun Mi Choi in this it's like a swimming pool wrestling type thing they was doing. So
Yeah, I
even
remember
from
that.
yeah, you remember that.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
even from
yeah.
there, I knew okay because they was like she wanted Troy from time ago, and like, everyone was like, oh, she's running from Troy. So I saw all that. So I knew the fight would come. I knew that she would sort of like get pipped to the post if she tries to box and tries to sort of move in that vein. But in
Hmm.
that first round, it was funny. I was watching her movement, and the first thing I was thinking is, this looks like this looks like Dimitri Bivol, like just the wide stance, the way that the legs are, the actual bounce. I'm like,
Bouncing.
they're both from the same. They're from the same stock. They both was started off for kickboxing as well, I believe. So you can just kind of see the stance in the two of them.
A
But
lot of
Carol,
Korean fighters train in Russia as well, basically.
yeah, that as
Ah,
well.
do they?
Well, Bivol is part Korean. His
Interesting.
Well,
mom's
he's
Korean.
ethnic Korean, but he's not from Korea. I'm saying that a lot of fighters from Korea train in boxing in Russia.
That is very interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, with that, look, Caroline was very sharp early on, but I
Mm,
feel as if she's maybe been, even though she hasn't had a stoppage in a few fights, because she's always dropping people. I feel like she's maybe just gotten a bit used to the power and being in love with it and feeling like, all right, I can dictate what I want in the fights. And so now every time, especially from that second round on, that the backhand was getting landed by Shin quite regularly, and I
yeah.
don't think she was expecting that. So even when she was in her combinations, every time that she would throw, usually when she hits someone, they almost do a back off and she gets a chance to reset. In this one, every time she hit Shin, like Bomi Ray literally just jumped, like she jumped forward and threw shots back and made Caroline have to defend. And
Mm,
I think all of that was basically just taking her almost sort of draining that energy down as well, having to work when she's not used to working. And yeah, look, she went. It was a bit of a crisis moment towards the end. Apparently, she said that she was, or they said that she was ill with a virus or whatnot throughout the week that she'd been recovering from, which potentially could have explained some of the drop off. But ultimately, just in there with someone that's tough, durable, coming forward, not afraid to let their hands go,
nope.
and yeah, ultimately it became a much harder night than I'm sure they wanted it to be, but it was a fight that she needed.
Yeah.
But my opinion, I almost guaranteed that based off of that fight, that you will see Bomi Ration and Beatrice Ferreira fight each other next.
First.
They'll that will be next, so that you so they can then do the who did it better comparison. Because
Yeah, you think Eddie's on the
they like to
phone
do
on
that.
the blower already?
They like to do that stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised
All
if that's the next thing there. Um, it doesn't, the performance and the way she looked, even if there are sort of illness things aside, doesn't then allay the criticisms and the accusations that she is, ducking the smoke of Beatrice Ferreira, especially when, on Twitter it's back to her and Carol, it's back to her and Terry.
Terry.
There's still no mention of the other champions, even Stephanie Hahn, who obviously got that devastating knockout 2 weeks ago, to win that WBA title. So it's all up in the air at the moment. But yeah, look, it was a good fight. I'm sure she will learn from that and maybe realize that not everyone is going to succumb to the power, and you've got to stick to the fundamentals and just be a bit more careful. So yeah,
Yeah, my thoughts on it. My first time actually ever being inside the Royal Albert Hall. I know, Base, you said you was there once as a child or it's school days, but it's the first time I've ever been inside there. I've seen it on TV. I remember when Prince Nassim Hamed fought in there. I remember when against Juan Polo Perez. I remember Frank Bruno fought in there back in the day. Well, I heard that Muhammad Ali fought in there. Obviously, that was before my time, so I didn't see that. But yeah, very prestigious venue, and yeah, it was the production. It looked really good. Um, I saw Sky Nicholson was in the building. They had lots of GB athletes in there and stuff like that, and celebs. So yeah, really good atmosphere. The Caroline Dubois Bo Mi Ray Shin fight. The first few rounds, it seemed like Caroline was in real control and stuff. I can see what you mean, based when you're saying about the Bivol stance. And as I said, Bivol, his mum's Korean, his dad Moldovan, so maybe that's a thing where he may have learnt some of that from. And as my show said, the Korean team train up in Russia. I remember it was a Korean who beat Roy Jones in the final, even though it was a robbery as well. So they are known to be decent boxers, though, over that side of the world. Later on in the fight, Bomi Ray Shin started coming into it, dragged Caroline into a bit of a dogfight, and that's where she started having success. Bomi Ray Shin as well. Funny enough, where I was sitting in the press box section, she had a lot of supporters up top,
Okay.
literally just behind, literally the row above behind. It was quite, so she brought a lot of supporters over.
There was at the media day, Danny.
Okay, but
Mm,
I only went to the media workout.
fair enough.
Yeah, so it was only media there. But I saw her on the pads, and I thought, yeah, she knows how to She knows how to throw a punch. Looks decent and stuff. Knows that seems like she knows how to fight. Um, it's only when Base actually mentioned that she did that thing against what's her name? Choi. Yeah, then I actually remember. I actually remember that, and I remember Choi on the it's this thing on Netflix I was watching where where you got like a hundred athletes.
Physical 100.
Yeah, physical 100. So I remember Choi on that as well. Um, so yeah, but yeah, Caroline, she will learn from it. Remember, she's only young. It's good that what we're used to seeing her knock out people and blast women out. It's good
Bowl
to
them
see
over.
yeah, it's good to see some resistance being put up against her. So she'll learn from this and know that she can't just everything she touches is going to fall. Bomi Ray Shin, she had a big face, big jaw, strong, durable. When she comes up against someone like Beatrice Ferreira or other champions in the future, I think this will stand her in good stead. If she does fight Terry Harper's probably seen better days. She probably would stop Terry, I believe, Caroline. But we know who the main real tests are. It's the likes of Beatrice Ferreira, it's the likes of Alicia Baumgardner, people of those ilks. But yeah, it was an entertaining fight overall. I didn't miss. I was watching the first sort of 5 rounds down in the media room, but they had a little TV screen in there. And then obviously I came up, and then I saw Bass has obviously made his way down to ringside while I was up in the vantage point. So yeah, but good fight though, nonetheless.
You keep mentioning that like you're a bit jealous, though.
Is it a bit like when Maestro pocket watches?
Hey,
There's a little
hey,
bit of hate
hey.
going on here.
No, it's funny because
I was at home. How about that? I wasn't even
Danny's
there.
made multiple posts since that statement in our
Has he?
private chat where he's posting about people's finances, their purses, asking people how much they think people make, why they don't make as much as they maybe may have made in the past. I don't know anybody who's more interested in finances than Danny. Not that I'm saying that there's
Danny's a
anything
hater,
wrong
isn't he?
with that.
Oh man.
Danny's
Trust
been
me,
a
I'm
lot-
gonna be pocket watching later because I got a lot to say about the UFC and
Ooh.
the small amounts of money
Oh.
they pay their fighters. So
Yeah,
trust me, if you
get
like
into that.
pocket,
Oh, we're gonna get into
if you
that.
like pocket watching, tune in for the later part of the show
Yeah,
because there's gonna be a lot of pocket watching
We're gonna
with
get
the
into
UFC.
We're gonna get into that.
We gotta get into
Briefly, let's talk about the upset of the evening. Jasmina Zapokochna
Was
versus
that an
Chloe
upset of the
Watson.
evening?
Zapatochna.
Yeah,
Zapatochna.
yeah, for the European flyweight title. Chloe Watson, Ricky Hatton fighter,
Mm.
against Jasmina Zapokochna.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll start with we'll go what do you call it? Anti-clockwise. So yeah, Base. Let us know your thoughts on the fight because I know you had it. You saw
He
it.
tweeted it, didn't he?
Yeah, no, look, I was, as I said, in all fairness, like I was watching, but I wasn't watching hardcore. So I was keeping my eye on it, but there would be maybe 10, 15, 20 seconds of various rounds where my attention was being diverted to this lovely elderly Welsh lady that beside me who needed help with everything from Wi-Fi to posting on Facebook and this,
Oh,
that, and the
bless.
third. But obviously you sit in the seats. You got to mingle with the other VIPs, whoever
While
they
you were
may be.
ringside, yeah.
Oh, is that why you was ringside? Yeah.
Well, you get there how you can. But yeah,
Bass found himself a cougar.
I mean, I ain't seeing her
All the
again.
rage now, apparently.
Huh? I hear that.
But no. In all seriousness, like I was watching the fight. Every time I looked up, and from the first few rounds, it just looked to me as if Chloe was on the ascendancy. Like Jasmina's pretty much on the retreat for the most
Yeah.
part. Yeah, she's doing. There's some counter shots here and there, but I'm just seeing a lot of work landing by Chloe. I'm seeing a lot of it land visually by her face. I was sitting just behind where Marcus McDonald was, and it just looked every moment like Jasmina just getting outpunched and outlanded. So even though I wasn't focused 100%, that's kind of the general feel. So when it went to the end, I thought, okay, this looks like a bit of a Chloe Watson, victory. And I was looking at it thinking probably like it looked around like a 97, 93. And then when the first scorecard came out and said 97, 93, I was like, oh, okay, well, cool. Then the other two, the 96, 95s, or if you're being correct, 95s, 96s, I was like, oh. So I put out a tweet initially, and then I actually had to delete that one, and I reworded it, just basically saying
Oh,
I'm gonna have to watch this again on the TV because it looked like a quite clear Watson win from what I saw. And I saw Danny. He said, no, Jasmina won that comfortably. A few people in the media rooms, I know Jasmina won that
okay.
easy. But then there were some other people, from ringside where I was, it looked like that was Chloe Watson all day.
Damn.
So it was one of those ones, I suppose. But I don't begrudge Jasmina the victory. Like, she's worked hard to get, all these positions. That's three tough fights back to back, and she's won two out of the three and elevated and won titles in two contests. Much love to her, and hopefully she can carry on up the ladder. But one thing I do know is she needs to sort of stick around this level for at least another 9 to 10 months until she figures out and we all figure out what Gabriela Fondora's doing. If she don't move up, you're not getting a world title. So there's no point even taking the payday. That punishment ain't worth it.
Mm-mm.
You just gotta wait for her to move up, and then you can maybe try either go for a vacant title or find the next crop of champions and do that and go down that route. But yeah, congratulations to her. Many more returns to her. Chloe Watson, she can come again. She can drop down to British level, get the British title, maybe come back up to European, fight for a vacant, or maybe even rematch Jasmina. Because again, from what I saw, it
Close.
looked like she was winning. Maybe there's enough there that you can do a rematch sometime down the line.
I hear that. October. What was your thoughts on the fight? How did you score it? And what did you think of the fight?
She
You
don't
know,
score.
you know me, and I don't
Oh yeah,
score.
sorry. Minus the scoring.
Yeah, yeah. I thought Jasmina looked like the more busier one, so I thought she won. But what I will say, in defense to Chloe, Chloe's been sat around for ages waiting for a fight, and she's wanted this fight. She's no longer with Wasserman to answer Philip's question, because I asked her that when we spoke on the presser day. She's, a free agent. She's with like second to none management, but she's currently not got a promotional company. Um, and Ben Shalom was basically saying it's winner stays on in that fight. So already he's mentioned Yasmina fighting on the undercard of her stablemate Callum Simpson. So it seems to be obviously working well in Yasmina's favour. But to be fair to Yasmina, I like her fight style. I like the way she is. I like her attitude. I like absolutely everything about her. And I'm just probably more happy on a personal level that she got the win. Because you know me, I don't score. But I did like her on the back foot. She was comfortable on the back foot. She looks like she's got some ring IQ as well. And obviously she's in a good gym, Dickie's gym, like I said, with like the likes of Callum Simpson. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more from her. I don't know what's going to be happening with a lot of these women fighters though, with everything that's going on. I'm sure we'll get into that. But yeah, I'm
Mm,
happy for her. Commiserations to Chloe, but I really blame inactivity. She had a fantastic amateur pedigree, and it's heartbreaking to
yeah,
see her go in for a fight that, yeah, she probably should have won, and unfortunately didn't get the decision.
yeah. Maestro, I know you said you tuned in after that, but did you manage to watch it on the playback?
No, I did not, Danny. My apologies. It's funny
No.
because last week I watched both of those cards, the Queensberry and the Matchroom card, but
You're the
unfortunately,
only one that watched that Queensbury card.
I wasn't available to discuss it in great detail last week.
Neither were
But
we. No one watched that Queensbury card last week. You were the only person.
look, I sent you video proof that I watched it.
Yeah, we saw, but you're the
You
only
know,
person that did.
probably the only one in the Bronx that watched it too. By the way,
In the
maybe all of New
UK as
York
well.
City, huh?
Ever since Frank said he's going to the zone, there's been no promotion about Queensbury card.
Yeah, it was you know what the funny thing is though, Base? In the United States, it was on the zone.
Was it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Ooh,
think the TNT contract is that it will go over to the UK once
Okay.
On the zone once the TNT runs out. But I think internationally, it's already on the zone.
Mm.
But
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, from my vantage point, maybe this must be one of those things of it depends where you're sitting, because as you said,
Yeah.
base those who was where I was saw it for Jasmina, and as you said, when you was at where you was located at ringside, those people saw it for Chloe. So maybe it's a thing of where people were sitting,
Yeah.
which had a better depending on their view. But for me, I saw Chloe Watson coming forward, but she wasn't landing. A lot of shots were getting blocked. She was getting countered. It seemed like Jasmina was landing a lot of check hooks, counter uppercuts, dance, moving around a lot. But it seemed like at times she was boxing rings around Chloe. Um, Chloe Watson, Ricky Hatton fighter, but I'd also heard that she's had a couple of rubber the green decisions on smaller shows where it wasn't televised. Oh, hence she's unbeaten.
Boxing
So
at 1 a.m. in, well, 12 o'clock at night, yeah. On the
yeah,
Western shows as a floater.
yeah. So she's had a couple of gifts, but I guess the luck ran out unfortunately. But great great story for Jasmina. As we saw last year. As I said, 13 months ago, she boxed Shannon Ryan on the Next Gen show where
Hmm.
Craig Richards beat Boris Crichton. It was like the bloodbath in there that time where Shannon had the big cut on her head. Then she came back and beat Gemma Roog, and then she upset um,
Maisie
Rosie
Rose.
Rose Courtney, and then as you've seen, she's got the European title. She was saying about Callum Simpson helps train her, so
Hmm.
she's saying he's the best coach and this, and giving lots of big ups to her team. When I spoke to her briefly afterwards, um, she said that she used to be a singer because for me, the way she dresses, she looks like a pop star in it, like an old
Hmm.
school pop star. She dresses like a pop star. She's got the little like the girl group sort of abs and stuff. So yeah, she's got the image.
Girl group abs.
Yeah, them 90s Spice Girl, all
Yeah,
same type of.
sporty Spice.
Yeah,
And what's the one that was with Eddie Murphy? The one that he dropped.
Mel
What's her
B.
Skinny.
name again?
MLB.
Yeah, Mel B. Yeah,
She
her.
breathed on and she got pregnant.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
one of them ones. But yeah, no, great
Cover up, guys.
yeah, great story. She's from Wrocław, a place that I'd been to see
Well, she
Usyk
said that she's
firsthand.
not from there. She
Yeah,
said
she said
she
she's not
lived
from there,
there, but that's not where she's from.
but it's listed on there, so she must be from probably one of those outside skirt places from near there or something like that.
She just said that she lived there. So she said it on your video. You should have
Yeah, I know,
remembered.
yeah, she said she lived there. But yeah, I'm just getting a little claim that I've been to that place when Usyk fought Daniel Dubois. Nice city. But yeah, well done to her, and we
She'll
roll
be
on.
all right. She'll be all right. She'll go far with her personality alone. She's
Yeah,
very, very likable.
yeah,
She's likable. She'll be promotable. So she'll be all right. She will.
yeah. And but world stage, as we know, yeah, Gabriela Fondora is obviously leading the pack. There's a couple of other Gabrielas in that division as well. I noticed when I was looking on the ranking list. So
Mm.
that seems quite a popular name for that weight division. But yeah, so yeah, I think just defend your European title for now, get some purses, and do your thing, and
Go.
wait till the sister Tower Inferno moves on. But
Mm.
yeah, we'll go to the main event of the evening: Natasha Jonas, Miss GB versus
Oh,
Lauren Price.
where's my black veil? Where's my funeral veil for my Natasha, man?
Yeah, yeah. Let's start with you, October. Since you, yeah, what did you think of the fight? It was
One sided.
yeah. Talk about it. Tell us
Yeah.
about it.
Well, everything that Lauren Price said during the lead up was true. She was too fast, too strong, the younger fighter. She took everything away from Tasha. Tasha could not get any shots off whatsoever. She was disrupting everything Natasha even attempted to do, never mind like trying to do. She was just nullifying absolutely everything, was not letting her breathe. That jab of Lauren's is horrific, absolutely horrific, because the shots that she was setting up after that and the combination flows that she had, the way that she was able to push Natasha back and even disrupt her ring movement. Don't get me wrong, Tasha was spinning off, rolling under sometimes, but it was just too much. Very, very one sided, worrying at some points as well. I was thinking she's taking some punishment in here. Um, Brilliant for Lauren sad to watch because obviously I'm a fan of Natasha. I've been for years, but I think it was literally the passing of the torch, the passing of the baton, whatever you want to call it in boxing, the passing of the gloves onto the next. Yeah, good fight for Lauren. Not so good for Natasha. But yeah, and we'll see what happens next. So congratulations to Lauren, man. She's a monster. Commiserations to Natasha.
Yeah, Maestro. What was your thoughts on the fight, and did you predict this to be a passing of the torch, or did you think that it was going to go
I didn't
the other way?
predict it. I didn't actually make any kind of prediction for this fight. I'm not gonna pretend that this was a fight I was really looking forward to. I mean, it was on the radar. It was on the schedule. I watched it, and to me, the best part about the whole show was actually the the environment that it took place in. I just felt that the visuals of the venue were stunning. You know, in terms of what happened in the ring, you know, Natasha, she's getting up there. She's older in age now. She's clearly no longer in her prime. And when you're talking about 2-minute rounds in a championship fight, you really got to be busy. You really got to be aggressive. You really got to be throwing with a lot of volume. And if the other person is doing all of those things more than you are, you don't really have that much time because the rounds just kind of go quickly, right? And you're an older fighter. It's probably quite difficult to keep up. Like, we think about a lot of the names in women's boxing. Some of the biggest names are women in their mid-30s and even older,
Yeah.
right? You know,
Layla Ali being one as well.
yeah, I was actually, you know, I was thinking about Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor. I was thinking about, what's the Colombian lady from Norway's name again?
Oh yeah, Cecilia Brækhus.
Thank you, Breakus. You know, a lot of the people that have been names in women's boxing are getting up there in age. A lot of them, like I was saying earlier, are fighting in the lower weight divisions, right? Where you need to be accurate, you need to be busy, you need to be really working at a very high pace for those 2 minutes.
For real.
And that gets harder. I mean, look, I'm in my 40s now. I can't move the way I used to move when I was in my 30s. And definitely
Sad
not when I was
reality
in
though,
my
isn't it,
20s.
Maestro?
So, huh?
It's a sad reality, isn't it?
No, I
You
mean
really
it's
do slow down.
biology, it's physiology, you know.
It's
So
fact.
yeah, it's bad. She's fighting two opponents. She's fighting Price and she's fighting Father Time. So
Mother time.
I felt or Mother Time, yes. So I felt that in all honesty, she did pretty well given everything I just outlined, but
Okay.
pretty well wasn't enough, unfortunately, for Natasha Jonas to retain her titles. But overall, great career. Amateur through pro, nothing to be ashamed of here. Really only lost to the best that she fought, especially if you look at that Katie Taylor loss. And I think that as a passing of a torch kind of moment, it was actually quite nice, given that it was at the Royal Albert Hall around International Women's Day. And by all accounts, I don't know, Price seems like a nice person, seems like a
Yeah,
hard
she is.
worker. So, you know, it was a loss, but it also wasn't like a horrible moment or anything. I think if you're a fan of Natasha Jonas.
You know what I forgot to say? I did say to Natasha, right, the Obanov fight, because Obanov put that pressure on Tasha, and that was the only fight that Tasha ever looked uncomfortable in. And I was thinking, which she said something in our conversation on my channel, and I thought, damn, if Lauren comes out, I just think it just come into my head, if Lauren comes out at her like that, could be problems. Because that Obanov was more like Pursoon, you know, someone that just keeps on coming forward. Don't get me wrong, with Lauren, it's precision, it's skill, but it's that constant pressure of not letting the fighter reset and try and get their own shots off. Lauren perfected that, and I think she might have looked back on that fight.
Yeah, I hear that. Base,
He
you know,
predicted it, didn't he?
not a good night for your Queen Miss GB. What
Where him
happened?
gone?
Rotted.
Where
Base.
him is?
That was
Someone,
my fault. I tried to do that to myself. I did it to base. My fault.
Oh,
Oh my
Sorry.
god.
yeah, he was
Sorry,
trying to
base.
save me from having to talk about it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So yeah,
you predicted it
yeah,
though.
yeah. It was, it was didn't go the way, you saw the post fight presser. It was just Lauren Price there. What did you make of the fight, and what did you make of the post fight presser, Lauren's comments afterwards?
Yeah, look, unfortunately, the fight played out exactly as I thought it
Hmm.
would.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why this week, as well as last week, I didn't put out a basis picks video because this particular card was filled with fighters that I either know or that there was probably no nice way to say that you're going to lose. Um,
Mhm.
and just looking at this one, is the thing is, right, I don't think Tash at any point in her career would have been able to beat Lauren. Like the
Okay.
size difference is one thing. Like just the natural athletics, they're both very athletic, but Lauren is just she is a different level athlete to any other female boxer I think we've seen. She's a free sport elite operator, football, kickboxing, and boxing. So
Mm.
and then even outside of that, as much as Natasha was correct when she said to Lauren, look, well, do you think that you punch faster or your punches are faster than like Katie Taylor or these people, all of these people at the lower weights? And she's like, no. And she goes, so, and Tasha's like, well, why do you think I'm going to have to worry about your speed when I've faced people with faster hands than you?
Mm.
But those faster hands are obviously negated by there's different things that those people might
So,
be a little bit shorter than Lauren Price. They may not have the same reach. Their physiology isn't the same. And even though I was looking at it from a point of view as even if Natasha is the naturally should be the naturally quicker because she is the naturally smaller woman, more fleet footed, from the lower weight classes, she can't negate that 10, 11 year age gap between the two of them. You
yeah.
can't be faster than a 29-year-old at 40 um, if you're both elite level athletes, unfortunately. And so she was relying on timing, but in relying on timing, she basically wasn't letting her hands go. She wasn't working. She was trying to conserve. She was almost trying to old woman her, conserve energy and hope that she can walk her onto one shot and then maybe take control of the fight via that. But that obviously wasn't the way to go. I mean, I broke character a little bit when I was at ringside. I kept quiet for the first 5, 6 rounds. I was kind of scoring it on the phone, and then by the fourth, the fifth, sixth, someone called me. But then by the fourth, fifth, sixth, I've looked up. It's looking exactly the same as it was. I just wrote,
Mm.
"There's no point scoring anymore." Like, and then yeah, I broke character, and I was literally there trying to yell instructions to Tash amongst all of these Welsh people sitting and standing
Oh, bless.
around me. But um, yeah, look, she unfortunately she didn't. I was hoping that she would try to circle away from the power hand. That was one
Okay.
thing. Get onto the jab. I was yelling
Can,
at.
can I?
Whereas, what's his name? Joe Gallagher, I think, was saying that be patient, be controlled. I was yelling, no, be first, get in close, cut her range, cut her distance,
Couldn't do it
because
though.
at least that way, like you can stay safer on the inside than you can on the outside or the mid range. But look, it wasn't to be. The whatever it was, whether the legs weren't there, whether it was a case of what, she was still the best version of her, but like Price was just better at the time.
Yeah.
Like Lauren Price is the apex predator of 147. There is no one currently in that division that can beat her. The person that can even give her the closest test is Michaela Mayer, and that's only due to work rate and consistency. But even her, she's way too slow to if Lauren really wants to put combinations together. So her only challenges is if she manages to go up in weight and maybe like have a catch weight with Clarissa Shields or like Tia Bolt or something like that in like a 2 or 3 fights time or something. It's her time, and it may not be over fully for Natasha because I feel like there are potential routes that she can have back, but I think the only option she really has now, if we're being if we're looking at it from a realistic standpoint, is if Michaela Mayer beats Sandy Ryan in the rematch, maybe Michaela will invite Natasha to come over to America so that she can right the wrong that she thinks that she got in that first fight. That would be the only thing I could think of. Outside of that, maybe if you want to have a fight just to say that you can end your career on a victory, that's potentially a thing there. But she's achieved everything that she probably can in the sport.
Mm.
She probably overachieved based on some people's perceptions. So yeah, look, if whatever she does, I mean, I'll be there. I'll support. I'll always check in, and it's always love when I see her. But it is it is what it is. Let's us see the new queen. Hence the name of the show, Queen's Gambit, because that's
Queen's
ultimately
Gambit.
what Boxer had in mind, sacrificing one for another.
Oh wow, love that. You know, they said that they're going over there. Shalom said that he's going over to the US with Lauren to watch the Mayor Ryan fight because he said they've already had talks with whoever to potentially make that fight next. So I'm not sure if Tasha would get that, but
Well, the only
stands to
way,
fight
put it
her,
this
innit?
way, the only way that fight can get made
Yeah,
is if Turkey gets involved. And that's
is
only because Michaela May has already said, and
yeah,
she's been quite vehement saying that she's not coming to Wales. She's not coming to the UK for that fight. She believes that every time she comes to the UK, she gets
she
screwed,
gets okay.
which is inaccurate. But
She's allowed to
the problem
opinion.
she has is that Top Rank are not going to try and put up more money for that fight than Boxer will. I feel that Lauren Price has a much bigger fan base overall, especially if you pull it in Wales. That is the biggest option. Plus,
Mm.
out of the two of them, she's got four belts to Michaela's one. You've really got no say here. Even on namesake, it doesn't really trump the attendance in the arena that the fight can be put in. So she hasn't really got much leverage to play except for holding out for the belt. Um,
Mm.
but I mean, if Ben's confident enough, send Lauren over there.
No, I think he'd want it over here. I think they're just going over there to watch the fight.
Yeah, but that's my point. What I'm saying
Mm.
is the fact that he'd want it here. He's not gonna send her over there to be content for Top Rank.
Yeah,
Even though you send her over there, she gets all the belts, then you can make her the star here. But he won't do it. So it's gonna drag on unless it ends up in neutral territory like a Saudi Arabia on one
yeah.
of them Ring Magazine cards, seeing as Lauren does hold the Ring Magazine belt. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, yeah, my opinion on it. Fight week, Natasha seemed relaxed. Lauren Price seemed very agitated
Yeah.
in the build up, snarling and stuff a lot. Had a lot. It's like she had a lot to prove
Yep.
to Tasha and herself, and people naysayers, people who may have been betting against her or wasn't really rating her, thinking she might be a hype job. But yeah, she had a real bee in her bonnet, and she was really motivated going into it. Natasha had a slip up when they had a little back and forth. Think she mistook her for Becky Price. Hence, I made and it seemed like the ending was very fitting in my comment, which I put on the video. Yesterday's price is not today's price because Natasha beat Becky Price, but today's price was a lot more different, a lot faster. She's built like a bulldog. Like she's very heavy,
Yeah.
big Popeye forearms, big shoulders. Um, yeah, she's a bit T-Rex-ish, but yeah, she's very fast, agile. A lot taller than Botrek have her listed at. Don't know why they got her listed as that short, and they got
She's about
Natasha.
5'9", ain't it?
Yeah, but they got her as 5'5.5", and Tasha at 5'8". I'm like, Tasha's not 5'8", and Laura Price is definitely not 5'5.5".
Well, they're all taller than me, so they're all taller than 5'6"
Yes, I'm like, well, that's strange, but okay.
or five
But
foot five.
but yeah, Lauren Price a lot better than I thought. Was knocking Tasha off balance with a
Yeah.
natural size and strength. Even when Tasha's blocking the hooks, he's knocking her legs.
Yeah.
Maybe
Backwards, man.
the older knees, the natural size, it was knocking her off balance. When Tasha was trying to throw the right hand or even over the top, she was just missing wildly, looking at the floor, kind of throwing and hoping. It wasn't much conviction. She didn't have combinations.
Mm.
Anytime she did get into an exchange, Lauren Price always made sure she finished the exchange with the last punch, made sure she threw
Yeah.
more shots. So even though someone like Katie Taylor does throw bursts, she doesn't throw it with as much precision when she's throwing the 1-2 left hook
The
or one
power.
two left hook, right hand left hook, and stuff like that. So a lot of that was disrupting Natasha, and she couldn't get off. I had it 100-90. I think a couple of the judges was just being favourable for her services and gave her a couple of rounds, but in my opinion, it was 100-90. It
Yeah.
did seem a bit sacrificial, you know. Yeah, drop one in to build the other. But hey, Natasha's done it. She's. I think she's. Some people say overachieved. I don't think so. I just think she had a tough first half of her pro career,
Mm.
and once she did move over to boxer, I think they did do a good service for her overall.
They did.
Two weight world champion, unified world titles, stuff like that. So some people will say, "Oh yeah, they just threw her into the river," but they did a lot for her.
As
She knows,
well.
yeah, exactly. So you have to remember that. And she knew, she knows deep down she's 40. This one's 30. There's going to come a time when it happens, unfortunately. And she knows she's got a job at Sky straight after anyway. So it's not like they're literally throwing her down to the wayside. She's got a gig anyway. So there's
Yeah, yeah.
life after boxing for her. So if this is the last time we see of her, well, it's not the last time we're going to see of her because she's going to, have her stunning outfits when she's doing the presenting for the Sky show. So listen, she's had a great career. She's going to be heralded, as an esteemed presenter with the likes of herself and Johnny Nelson side by side, two former world champions who've bought the T-shirt, serious credentials. So yeah, Lauren Price moves on. She's got the scalp, which is now going to elevate her and make her more marketable to the regular viewers. She's got a big support from Wales. I saw the Welsh flags coming out in force. I'm sure when she goes back home to Wales, she's going to have a good homecoming. And yeah, she seems a fan favorite. She seems a bit, I don't know, maybe it was just fight week, but she comes across as quite of a moody character. I know people say
Nah, she's all right, man. She's cool.
is she? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know her, but maybe
Yeah,
because it
she's
was a
cool,
fight
man.
week, she was just on. She was just on it, innit?
She's
But
just focused.
yeah, maybe it's just that then.
Very
Um,
studious.
yeah,
GB. It's almost like military up there, isn't it? So
yeah. And I spoke to Gary Hale, who trained both Natasha and Lauren Price, obviously at two separate times.
times, yeah.
He trains Lauren Price now, so he would have known all about Natasha, from the amateur days, the strengths, the weaknesses, the mindset, all that good stuff. So that's why it's good to talk to guys like Gary Hale, Lee Pullen, these GB coaches who are now pro coaches because they have their inside scoop on a
Richie
lot of.
Woodall as well would have been a good one to talk to, but
Yeah,
obviously
Richie
he's
Woodall, because I even spoke to Gary about even when he said he goes, he didn't even want to be involved in the
damn
Delilah fight and Sonny
Johnny
Edwards fight
Edwards, yeah.
because he was like that was a bit too much for him. But yeah, he was in Lauren Price's corner and he came out the victor. So yeah, good stuff. But yeah, well done for Ben. It's a shame that Cindy Ngamba wasn't on the card. I hope everything's well and she does manage to get her pro career on track and get that started. Uh, what's all that? I don't know. But yeah, so that's that card out of the way. The only fight really left to talk about is Harlem Eubank versus Tyrone McKenna. I watched that the next day because I got back so late. It was the press conference. We ended up leaving what time base? Like what?
About 1:45.
1:45 in the morning.
That's not bad. Some of them have gone on later than that.
No, but for a card that was only 5 fights of a
It
2
was
minute
they were
round,
running late though, weren't they? Because the main event didn't start till like 11:15.
yeah, it was all mad. It was all mad. But yeah, Harlem Eubank. I'll go first on this one. Yeah, dropped McKenna
I didn't even watch
four
that.
times, but three times officially. But McKenna even admitted that the one the ref called the low blow was a punch.
Mm.
Harlem was using a lot of lateral movement and sidestepping pivots and
Good
very,
for him.
very athletic movements.
Good for him.
Yeah, it was very unique movements I haven't seen before, but he looked good putting his punches
Good.
together. I know some people might think he's not much of a puncher, but I've seen he's flattened a couple guys like out. in the past, and he's got enough. And obviously, he's moved up a weight now. He says he feels stronger. I know he does the ITIL diet, so he's feeling a lot stronger. He's getting his herbs and all those elixirs and stuff like that. So yeah, he looked very strong. Tyrone McKenna, very tough Irishman.
We know.
Always good up for a fight.
Mm.
Rugged, durable. But yeah, Harlem was just too good, and McKenna has probably been in a few wars. Well, he's been in a lot of wars. I'm sure he'll have a few more after. But yeah, Harlem looked good. I'd say that he looked very good, and I'm looking forward to his progression in the welterweight division. That's for sure. And did anyone else watch the fight?
I didn't, because I was doing the live watch along for the Sky Sports show. So no,
Okay,
I didn't watch. I didn't watch any other fight. So
okay, yeah, I only watched it on the playback because the wife, she recorded the Channel 5 show for me, so I just watched it the next day. All right, well,
What show, Danny?
the Wasserman show.
Okay.
Yeah, the Wasserman show, because that's Channel 5
Okay.
over here.
and YouTube.
Was it YouTube as well?
Yeah, YouTube was the early one, because I obviously I caught up with Matty Harris's fight in it because he got his round 1 knockout.
Oh, okay, yeah, I saw that.
Does Conor Ben go more rounds with Chris Eubank Jr. than he would with Harlem Eubank?
Um,
That's a good question. Don't know. I need a few hours to think about that.
yeah, that's I'll have to get
Yeah, I
back
need
to you
to
on that one.
process.
I mean, there you go. There you go. Chad,
Yeah.
tell me what you think. By the way, chat, does anyone in this chat think that Conor Ben has any kind of a shot to beat Chris Eubank Jr.? Maybe
Skyline
I'm missing
put that
something.
in
I
there.
don't know. This is just a mismatch fight. But, I guess he's talking his way into, getting people to believe in him. But all this talk about him taking Chris Eubank Jr.'s head clean off and knocking him spark out and all of these other comments that he's been making, I'm not buying it. Is the UK buying it? I'm not buying it.
I think that Conor Ben will win the fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Interesting.
Okay, that's very interesting. I guess you didn't see the Ocampo fight.
Don't need to. I just need to see
Or the fight with the highly acclaimed Pete Dobson, who ended up losing to Jaleel Hackett afterwards.
Yeah.
And Jaleel Hackett ended up losing after that fight. I was actually there for that.
Yeah, I saw those fights, but you have to remember it's the way
Pete Dobson.
the way Chris has been living lately, the way he's been training, it doesn't bode me as a man who's as serious as he used to be. My thing is, if he was training and using that punch machine where he's going trying, he's on the work rate and going in, and he's going in to have a fight, and if he wanted to actually have a rockers and train to have a rockers with Conor, then yeah. But if he's looking to do this, pulling out of his chin in the air, trying to box, he's got flat, slow feet. You're doing that, you're going to get caught on the end of shots when Conor's exploding in and out.
So as Conor Ben said, he's gonna knock him spark out. He's gonna take his head off.
Not about knocking Spark out, but the punches will start to add up and accumulate, in my opinion. But that's just
okay. Quick programming note: hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Big up to D Style for the super chat. Thank you so much, D Style. And also hit the notification button, because a lot of people who subscribe to my channel tell me that they don't get alerts when I go live. So it might be the same for October, might be the same for Danny and Bay. So double check that notification is switched on. And finally, do what Star Fox did. Spread the love. All right. If you're watching on one channel, move on over to another channel. Go for it, October Red.
I was going to say, I think Star Fox and Skyliner are the same person.
Really?
Yeah, I think they're the same. They're just too similar. They're either that or they're twins.
Okay. Or
Okie
they're best friends.
Something. There's no way that they don't know each other if they're not the same person.
But yes.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no. But yeah, you heard what Maestro said. Get active, get involved, guys, and thank you for tuning in. But let's move on to the.
I think what I think we should do, Danny. Before you move on, I think we should lock down the Twitter and tell everybody that's watching us on Twitter to hit that link and join us on YouTube. Hit the link and join us on YouTube.
Twitter's better numbers.
What do you think?
I'd never tell anyone to come off Twitter. Twitter's better numbers for me.
Well, there you go. I got overruled by the Queen, October Red.
Nah, you didn't get overruled. Just Twitter's better, man. Trust me.
There you go.
Twitter's there. It's live.
Oh, well, at least hit. I want to see more hearts than on the Twitter. Then we should all have retweets from everybody watching.
Yeah, retweet
Retweet and likes,
retweet,
right?
Yes.
Retweet and likes, or re-exit it.
And quote tweet too. That helps.
Quote tweet. There you go.
But yes, I think it's time to let's get into this. We've seen big news over the last couple of days.
Oh yeah.
Yellow Sheik has teamed up with Dana White from UFC and this guy called Nick Khan. Allegedly, they're doing a TKO league. People are citing rumors they're looking to destroy, the promotional companies that we know. So yeah, what's your thoughts, guys? Anyone's welcome to chime in. Let's go for it. What's your thoughts on all of this, man?
I'll go first.
Yeah, go on.
I don't like it.
Why?
Because why would you say that you're going to destroy or disrupt or dismantle the other promoters? I understand the competition side of it, but that makes me feel a little bit uneasy. So I will say shout out to Eddie Hearn that's put his foot down and said, not with me, you're not.
Reminds me of when Turkey said that he was going to eat Canelo when Canelo went face to face or head to head with his pay-per-view at the Sphere event. You remember that? The big Sphere in Vegas?
Yeah.
They decided to go at the same time as Canelo against Berlanga. And then Dana White got upset with the MGM for hosting Canelo versus Berlanga at the T-Mobile. Canelo Berlanga ended up being the bigger event, so they actually didn't get eaten. So it reminds me of that. Sorry to interrupt October.
You say that, but Canelo he's been consumed into the fold now, so maybe he did get eaten, just not when they fought.
It's a valid perspective. Yeah, go for it, October. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, this is what I want. No, you know me. I like the free conversation because I might say something that you don't agree with. I like the way, boxing has developed. So I think it's developed brilliantly. I think we are getting some really good matchups. I think the money is filtering back into the UK. So we're getting, the stronger UK cards on, especially from Frank Warren. He seems to have invested his money into buying up a lot of UK fighters. So it seems to be going really well. So when I first heard the news, it more or less rung alarm bells with me because it's like, okay, the money's got into the sport and yeah, you've got to be grateful for that money. But I just think everything's got a price and I think it's time to collect.
So yeah, Base, what's your thoughts on it? Or do you think this is going to be bad for boxing? Do you think it's going to affect boxing? Do you think it's going to be, or do you think it's going to be positive and an additional, pleasant thing for it to go on? And what was your thoughts on the Canelo situation where he was, told to shun the WBC title?
Well, I think that's okay. So that's two separate issues. All right, in terms of the TKO boxing thing, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure because from what I saw and from what they was initially saying is that it's more of a grassroots movement. It's supposed to be everyone from those that sort of the new up and comers and the upcoming talent and giving them access to the best facilities and making sure that they can get out regularly, be seen and be basically the future stars of the division. That's kind of how it was sort of sold. So I don't know. I don't know how much of that then correlates to everyone else, like all the other big stars. Is that TKO thing is the first step of that? Is it amalgamated into the ring? Is it essentially everyone that's on that new ring card, the one that's going to be taking place before the Canelo fight, Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia and all that, are they the first signees of it?
That's
Are the promoters like Eddie and Frank and Oscar and Bob, are they essentially now just going to be like back in the day football feeder clubs to these Riyadh season and ring cards? Like they do all that sort of the grass work, the grassroots movement stuff, and then as soon as the person's ready, Turkey takes them to put onto the big stage. I don't know how it all plays out. It's it's all a bit confusing until more information comes out. In the biggest issue with it is that if these new all the new children and like the new sort of the prospects, sorry, not children, but if they're all coming up and they're expecting to be paid the same way how everyone else is now being overpaid for all the Riyadh season and ring cards and stuff, that causes a problem, because then they may not be as active unless they're getting that same money, or they can't go from show to show because they might get, say they get 100,000 to do this fight over here, but then their regular market value is actually only 15 and a half. But they don't want to do the 15 and a half, so there's loads of now stagnated fighters hanging around, just like what happened with the PBC. Is that going to be the case? Are they all going to be price capped if they're on there? Dana has been looking to try and repeal that Ali Act for the longest time. Is that what he's trying to do? So he can get everyone on a wage,
yeah.
and a non-breakable wage structure with bonuses and incentives. I don't know. There's a lot to sort of
Digest, yeah.
go through it. So until I get the full details, all I
Yeah.
can really say is that if it gives, for the moment, if it gives prospects or people that don't usually get opportunities more opportunities to show how good they are or how good they're not, then fine. And if it's more about getting rid of the stigma of losing the O as well, that's cool.
Don't you
Just
think
got
they're doing that already, though, Base? Don't you think
no,
with
not
what's
really.
happening, they're doing that already? I mean, the likes of Josh Padley coming through, a fighter that we might not have necessarily known about until he had that opportunity against Mark Chamberlain on the Anthony Joshua card. And the fact that now they are putting the fighters, and I'd say that's across the board, they're putting the fighters in tougher fights, so they are
No,
losing their all.
No, the Josh Padley one isn't. It's not really comparable because no one was looking at Josh Padley as the next prospect up. He was a feeder. He was a feeder body to Mark Chamberlain. That's what he was brought in there for. He was given that opportunity because he had a good looking record on paper. They thought Chamberlain was going to beat him and then move on. He upset the apple cart and off the back of that got opportunities. But if you're
Yeah,
thinking about what you're saying, where's Mark Chamberlain been since he got defeated? He ain't been back.
true.
So the O thing is still very much
In
problematic.
there.
If you
Okay.
look at even with Jared Anderson, yes, he just came back the other day in a nothing fight, but there was a lot of talk about would he even be brought back. There's chances they might top rank might cut him soon. So the O thing is still there. If their thing is to literally have everyone in round robins, then we'll see. But Frank Sanchez hasn't been back since losing the O to Ajit
Yeah.
Caballero. Zhang is lucky because obviously the Joe Joyce thing, and he's got the knockout power. That's one thing.
Hmm.
But Makhmudov just about got an opportunity afterwards, but low level, and then got beat.
Be it again.
It's all of these people. None of them since they lost have really come back like that.
Gerard Anderson's back.
Nah, but you just
I
said
just
that,
said
though,
that.
innit? Yeah.
Yeah.
You wasn't listening, was you?
Yeah, no, I was. I was.
We know what Danny was doing, don't we, Base?
What was I doing? Stop it, October. Stop it.
But
Stop
yeah,
it.
that's kind of my thoughts on it. I feel like if we can, if it does, everyone in there, look, just round robin, everyone mix it up. You win, you lose, it is what it is. But there will still be others that won't want to join in that because they won't like the risk versus reward aspects for their own careers. We'll see. It's got a couple cycles it's going to have to work through, but until we
We'll
get to a
see.
point where that becomes more like the old school.
Yeah, Maestro. I know that's you done a shout out. You done a great live with Joe Habib.
Oh, what
Three
happened in that?
lives.
So yeah, guys,
3 lives.
make sure it was well. I saw two.
Well, I did one on his channel because we
Yeah.
do a show on Saturday where we do an hour on his, then we do an hour on mine.
Okay.
And after that show, we were having a phone call, and he was still arguing with me about it, and I was arguing with him. So I'm like, we might as well just do this on camera. Let's do another one. So we ended up doing 3 lives on it on Saturday.
Okay.
Right? Then I think I did another one on this topic this morning, and I did a punchlines. And FYI, I'm about to go in again after this show. That's how much I really don't like this idea. And
Come on, man.
That's how much I really don't like the narratives that are being spun about all of this. This whole idea that the UFC model is what boxing should replicate because the best fight the best in MMA is total BS. I'm sorry. Like, the best don't fight the best in MMA. That's a funny comment. I got distracted reading it.
Starbucks again.
Look, the fact is the UFC is its own promoter, right? That also acts as its own sanctioning body. And just to be clear, when I say sanctioning body, I'm talking about the organization that runs the title and that awards titles to people who compete, right? So the UFC title is basically run by the UFC, the promoter. And Base brought up the Ali Act. The 2 main things that the Ali Act does that distinguish it from MMA are, 1, financial disclosures to the fighters. Fighters get to know, as a matter of federal law in the United States, how much money is being generated, and out of that, how much money they're being paid, right? Another thing it does is it prevents predatory contracts. So excessively long contracts with really bad terms. Well, there's actually 3 things. Because the third thing I'm going to point out is it prohibits promoters operating as sanctioning bodies. So essentially what happens, and I'll give you an example of this right now. So Teofimo Lopez, WBO champion, top-ranked fighter, is the champion at 140, right? When his contract is up, Top Rank doesn't get to keep his belt, right? Shakur Stevenson walked away from Top Rank and took the WBC title with him to Matchroom. When his contract with Matchroom is up, it's up to him whether he decides to stay with Matchroom or move on to another promoter. When Francis Ngannou's contract ended with the UFC, they did everything they could to extend it. In fact, it was extended while he was with the UFC in a way that wouldn't have been possible in boxing. And they didn't allow him to capitalize on the fact that he was a champion, right? And leave the UFC with the title belt and defend it with another promoter, right? So that right there is a big difference between boxing and UFC. Another big difference between boxing and UFC is, of course, they don't do unification fights. So they say the best fight the best. Well, if that's the case, we should be seeing the last UFC champion before John Jones, a guy who never lost his title in competition. It was stripped from him because his contract expired. We should be seeing a fight between John Jones and Francis Ngannou. Of course we won't, because the UFC only allows you to fight for its title if you are under a long-term contract with the UFC. They don't allow you to just sign a one-fight deal and fight for their title, nor do they allow unification fights with Ryzen or with One or with PFL, etc., right? And the main reason, though, in addition to all of these other great reasons that I'm against this, is that I'm a worker, right? I'm not a capitalist. I don't buy people's labor. I sell my labor, right? That's what I do as a worker. Most of the people watching this are workers, people who get up in the morning and sell their labor to people who buy it. I side with the worker. I don't side with the capitalist in Dana White. And Dana White is giving interview after interview really defending the fact that he doesn't pay fighters all that well. And it says stuff like, well, if you don't like it, leave. If you don't like it, start your own promotion. He's even gone on record as saying fighting isn't a career. Well, I got news for people who like Dana and who think that he's the solution for boxing. A lot of people that get into boxing, yes, it's a limited time frame. Yes, it's a
Still a
relatively
career
narrow
for them.
window compared to what I do for a living, teaching. Although a lot of people can't really take teaching, and I think the average teacher in New York City probably lasts about 3 years. It's a tough job, but the fact is, it's a career. Fighting should be a career. For you to be on camera saying fighting's not a career, essentially to justify low pay for fighting, I mean, that tells you all you need to know. Why would you want this guy running boxing? We won't get unification fights. Fighters won't be paid very well, right? And the way to circumvent the Ali Act is to take it to Saudi. The Ali Act doesn't apply in Saudi. So they can just take all of these fights over there, lock these youngsters in long-term deals, right? You can only fight for the title of this new organization if you're signed long-term to the organization. And I think the plan long-term is probably to let's let the Usyks and the Furies and the Better Beebs and the Bivals and the Canelos and these other guys
For
kind of
that.
age out while we control the next generation of fighter and keep them locked into these oppressive contracts. Now, there are people out there like Stephen A. Smith. You guys might not know him that are out there watching in the UK.
No, we know.
I got a whole video lined up for after this show where I'm gonna go and discuss my dislike for Stephen A. Smith, essentially white knighting for Dana White and the UFC with this whole boxing's better. UFC's better. UFC is the model. No, it isn't. It is if you want to exploit the worker, the boxer, and repress the worker's wages. I'm a union guy. I'm a working guy. I sell my labor. I side with the people that sell their labor. I don't side with the capitalists. That's my perspective.
Do you think it's going to be like that because of Dana White, because of the principles that he has, with him signing a partnership with His Excellency that we know is quite generous with pay? Do you think that will still
Well, the thing is,
come into fruition?
it's a good question, October. It's a valid question, and my response to that is this: you've got Emmanuel, the head of TKO, right,
Yeah.
who's essentially Dana White's boss, giving
Right.
interviews saying that boxing is failing because of the Muhammad Ali Act.
Interesting.
I mean,
I need to do
he's
more
literally
research all of that.
on camera saying that, right?
Yeah, I need to do more research.
So you also look at the track record of Dana White and all of the UFC fighters that have complained about their business practices in the UFC, the multiple lawsuits. In fact, they just went through a lawsuit that cost them hundreds of millions of dollars because of the nature of their predatory contracts
Yes.
and how they're oppressive to the fighters. So again, like, why would someone want to go to that to quote unquote save boxing? Essentially, what you're trying to do is repress the wages of fighters and control fighters.
Okay, but then if it's
Right.
obvious like that, then I guess the fighters will stay with. Obviously, I'm looking at the UK. They'll stay with the main promoters. They don't have to go over to this TKO, do they?
Well,
Unless, like he says, he's going to
What?
try and dissolve
Mm.
the promoters.
Well, where it be? I think it'll be one of those things where the first crop will go over there, thinking that when you go over there, the streets are paved with gold, and then those guys
Carrot.
will all get burned, and then the ones behind them will know. All right, the grass is greener where we was before, but it's going to take a crop to end up getting burnt and have horror stories, and that's where the next lot. So that's what I think potentially will happen. But my take on this is, I don't like it. Dana White, he's been trying to get into boxing for a while. His model works for himself. It doesn't work for the fighter. As Maestro says, I'm a blue collar guy, in American terms, like yourself. Um, as Dana says, this is not a career; it's an opportunity. So he sees you as like literally a cell number. He's got this slap model, this slap game. Are those guys making money? A lot of them are going to end up with CTE. They can do all that, but it's not very healthy for themselves.
I agree.
Mate, you're looking. You seen that guy? Anytime he gets slapped in the face, he's like going, "Ah, ah, ah," that Samoan
I
looking guy.
mean, it tells you all you need to know. Like if Dana White was around, a couple hundred years ago, he would have been that character from Django Unchained doing the dingo fighting.
Yeah, the
Remember that?
Mandingo fighting.
The
Yeah,
Mandingo fighting.
yeah.
I mean, that's how he talks about these fighters. To Danny's point.
A
Yeah.
commodity for sure. But I just think that the carrot will be is that they will receive, to start off with, substantial pay, because the rumors are there. Everyone's got, like you said, there's lawsuits. There's this. Where is the attraction?
They're
For the
starting with the
fighters. You reckon?
young fighters that are probably naive, that don't really know business that much. That's who they're getting in. They're not gonna get Canelo to fight for this. They're not gonna get the guys who are main eventing these Riyadh season cards to fight for this.
So you mean
There's
like
another
it's
good
not
point
an
too that I
academy?
forgot to mention. And shout out to my friend Stitch Duran, noted cut man, right? He's talked about this many times. He actually was fired by the UFC. Do you know why he was fired? He was fired because they overnight decided, or at least informed the UFC fighters, that they would no longer be able to have sponsorships, right?
Yes.
When they signed a Reebok deal. So you had fighters that were making their money off of their sponsors because the purses were so low.
Yep.
Overnight, they're told, you're not getting that money anymore. You're just going to get a small little percentage of Reebok, of what Reebok is giving us.
$2,000.
Yeah, $2,000. And you literally had fighters overnight losing tens, if not hundreds of thousands. In the case of Vito Belfort, he said he lost millions because he had sponsors in place, right?
Yeah.
So the UFC controls the belt. They control the sponsors, right? They're literally treating these fighters like indentured servants. Like, just go listen to interviews with Randy Couture. You're right. Interviews with Francis Ngannou.
Yeah.
Interviews with other fighters as well. Nothing they've said about this is true. Again, the best don't fight the best in MMA. They don't do cross promotional fights.
Yeah, but
That's the selling point, and that selling point on its face isn't true.
But yeah, it's like, as you said, for instance, if they do that same thing in boxing, you got someone like Johnny Fisher who brings in a ton of fans, has a load of sponsors.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's making about at least 50 G's in sponsorships, and then you
Fair
put
play.
it down to literally just having I don't know, Lonsdale and Everlast, and say, oh yeah, this is you get $3,000 a fight from these sponsors. This is your sponsors. That's messing up a man's proper wages. Like it's not good.
Drink,
Really.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's not good for boxing. I don't think Dana White, his model will work in boxing, because boxing it's too many organizations as well. Not
At
too
the
many.
moment.
Yeah, at the moment, but it seems they're trying to do something else with it. What's your thoughts, October, on what it seems like they might be possibly trying to do with these organizations? We've seen Canelo. Yeah, let's get on to the second subject, where Canelo is seen being told to shun the WBC. There was no other title belts, and I remember saying this. I did notice that when Bivol won the undisputed, the WBA belt just went missing. Like it was non-existent.
Did you mention that on one of our lives the other day?
Yeah, so
But then Base
something alarmed
reported-
me. Yeah, Base thought that maybe it was just he ran out of room on his hands to hold things, but it alarmed me the way I saw that, and it just seems slowly but surely all this disappearance acts are happening with these governing bodies, these belts. So, what's your thoughts on that incident, and what do you think is going to happen?
I was actually there, Danny.
Oh, go on.
Oh, you
Yeah,
said?
so it was weird because they held it at Radio City Music Hall, which is a very famous venue in New York City, Midtown Manhattan, 50th Street, East 50th Street. And in fact, last time I saw a fight there hasn't been a fight there since Rigondeaux beat Donaire at that same venue. Rigo beat Donaire back in the day. I was at that fight with my sister and my cousin. Huge venue, much bigger than the theater at Madison Square Garden. So I got the alert about this about 6 p.m. It was a media blast, right? About 6:30, I think the alert came through to my email. If anybody wants to contact me, it's elmaestroamilcar@gmail.com. That's where I got it. And it had a link in it to to get free tickets to the event, right? So it's like, okay. I told a couple of my students about it. A couple of them went down there, but I didn't really automatically see the link for the media credentials. So I emailed the following day. Ended up getting in. Long story short, they rented out this huge place, gave people a less than a 24 hours notice because the event started at 5 p.m. or doors open 5 p.m. Eastern. Last Thursday, I got the alert 6:30 p.m. Eastern on the Wednesday. So it was mostly empty. They pushed all of the people to the front. Very beautiful venue, but it was empty, and the audio was messed up. They had the interpreter on stage. The fighters couldn't hear them. People couldn't hear what William School was saying, and Canelo was commenting about it. And then we had this question and answer session where people from the media were supposed to be able to ask questions. Turkey Al Sheikh ended up asking a question. They couldn't really hear it on stage because of the audio issues. And then they did the face-off, and Eddie Reynoso was like collecting the belts, as he always does, because Canelo does the face-off, and Team Canelo, usually goes behind him with all of the belts. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he was instructed by Turkey to leave the belts to the side, and they had the Fatal Fury belt. I didn't quite know what the belt was. I think I had asked Mike Coppinger what it was, and he told me it was a Fatal Fury belt. And they had the Ring Magazine belt. So those were the only two belts on stage. And yeah, the other belts were all shunned. So they had them on stage. Turkey actually mentioned that, you're fighting for that last piece, pointing to School's belt. So that was asked. But then at the end, when it came time to pose with the belts, the only two belts that Canelo posed with
were
those two belts, and Turkey was holding them. School didn't have his titles, and neither did Canelo.
Very interesting that. So, what do you make of that? What did you make of that base? And is it a thing of that the governing bodies that we know of are going to be a thing of the past, and it'll be just a two-belt era with this? I don't know, this new belt and the ring belt, or will the ring belt just be the be all and end all belt? What do you think's going on with all this governing body? Because what alarms me also, well, what's strange to me is that didn't the governing bodies all sign a contract with Riyadh Season like during last year, from what I remember?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're all listed as partners as well on the Ring Magazine, so that's on their website as well.
Yeah,
so it's interesting.
Base, what do you think about all that?
I mean, look, to be honest, I didn't read too much into it initially because if you remember this whole thing is it's an SNK promotion, right? So he's promoting the video game, the partnership they've got.
Yeah.
So they've got this Fatal Fury belt, which I guess I think Adi was saying, oh, it's the undisputed belt, but it's not, because there was also a Fatal Fury belt for the Eubank Jr. and Conor Ben press conference. So clearly it's something that's gimmicked towards the event and towards the promotion of the game.
Yeah.
It's being put on by the Ring Magazine, so it's in association with Ring Magazine and SNK. So it makes sense that the only belts you want in shot for this specific promotion and event that you're promoting is the two belts of the collaboration. So they didn't need to be the WBC, WBA, IBF, WBO, etc. That's the way I took it. So I mean, and maybe there could be something more sinister going on, but again, they're all listed as partners on the Ring Magazine website. You wouldn't have got them all together within the space of like 6-7 months to now all of a sudden like say, oh well, we're not going to work with you guys. Yeah, look, I mean, are they trying to maybe phase them out one by one, or amalgamate the belts all into like one bigger belt? Maybe. And maybe that's the idea. Maybe the idea is in actual fact that he's obviously got all of them on side to say, look, let's get that undisputed, And once you become undisputed, all of those belts go away, and there's one singular title that you go for. All of the sanctioning bodies will get their percentages the same way that they would have before. And maybe the undisputed belt might have the different logos on it, all of them all together, or something like that. Possibly. But in terms of him shunning the WBC on that one particular thing, I didn't see an issue with it because it didn't need to be there for this cross promotion, which is all about the game and promoting the game alongside the Ring magazine. It will, if anything, the fact that Eddie Reynoso tried to bring that belt over there at the time for that specific moment screams more of entitlement by Mauricio Solomon, like who's always got his face up in the video like P Diddy back in the day. You don't need to be everywhere all the time, creating
I don't
trinket
think he
belts for
was
every.
there, to
No,
be honest, Ben.
I'm just talking about the WBC as a whole.
Oh, okay.
There's always a trinket on the line for any event of consequence, whether even if it hasn't got anything to do with the WBC. And Reynoso, obviously being a friend of Mauricio and them being close, it's a case. Okay, we're trying to get our belt up in the shot as well. But Turkey's just like, well, no, this is about Fatal Fury and this is about the ring. This is what the promotion is. You don't need to be here. Like that belt can go to the side because at the end of the day, all the belts were on the
That's a
table.
valid point.
All the belts was on the table when they was doing the press conference, but
Mhm.
this is a photo
Face
to
off.
promote the event. So that's how I saw it. I didn't really see much else. If it comes out later on that there is something more sinister, cool. But for right now, that's how I kind of see it.
Can I just mention real quick, Danny, that there were actually two press conferences this week. Fatal Fury ring that I actually went to. The Canelo one was the second one. The first one was actually for the fight card that's actually going to be taking place the day before the Canelo fight in Riyadh. And of course, I'm talking about Ryan Garcia against Rolly Romero, Devin Haney coming back against Jose Ramirez, and of course, none other than Danny's favorite fighter at 140, Teofimo Lopez, taking on none other than Arnold Barbosa Jr.
Shout out Arnold Barbosa.
So Arnold Barbosa
That's
was
totally
standing on solid ground. Actually, he was sitting at the table, but it was very interesting because Richardson Hitchens, aka Africa, was in the crowd and turned up to heckle Teofimo Lopez. And Teofimo Lopez actually was telling him to pick up bananas and do a bunch of other stuff. So, very interesting press conference.
Didn't he say,
Pardon me?
Didn't he say, bring me a banana?
Yeah, bring me a banana or something.
That's
Something
Tony
related to bananas,
Tony
anyways.
Pugilis's guy, by the way. That's not my guy.
Oh, right. It was Tony P. It was Tony. I forgot. It was. You're absolutely right. It's Tony P's guy, Teofimo Lopez. So, sorry about that, Danny. You're absolutely right. Tony P, formerly of the Breakdown. Big Teofimo Lopez fan. I wonder if he still is. I'll have to ask him on Telegram after the show.
Yeah.
Shout out to Arnold Barbosa.
Yeah. So October. What did you make of it? Do you think that it was maybe people looking too much into the WBC incident?
I think everyone's going to start looking into everything a little bit more because it seems like over the past week there's been so much happening with boxing and a lot of change, and it's a lot of things for people to try and get their head around and get used to. So yeah, I can understand why people may look at something and say, well, that doesn't look right. Just like Benavidez jumping into the star position to potentially fight Bivol, and then His Excellency says, well, actually, no. And kind of like, Bivol, you know who's looked after you, so you will do as you're told. So yes, it will create a lot of paranoia and what the hell is going on over here, and is boxing changing at such a rate of knots now that nobody knows what the hell's going on. So I understand the paranoia, but I think we've got to wait to see how the dust settles and to see what's actually going on. But I'm on the back foot with it. I'm literally on the back foot and just going to see how it all plays out.
But whilst you're on the back foot and you're looking for openings, how do you see this WB? How do you see, the Bivol situation with Beterbiev free or Benavides? How did you see that whole situation?
He'll do what His Excellency tells him to do. Simple, because he
Okay,
pays him,
fair
and that's
enough.
what happens. You do as you're
And
told.
and both of those guys beat Benavidez too. So I'll just throw in for that. I
Yeah.
don't know if they're capable of beating Ben Whitaker. That's an open question,
Oh,
but
for
they can
fuck's
they can
sake! Are
definitely
we
they
gonna?
can
It's
definitely
too
beat
late
beat.
tonight, Maestro.
Every time we start talking about boxing, why should I have to put Ben with a guy? That did
You
what?
know what?
Ben with a guy.
Leave young Ben. Leave young Ben Whitaker
We've
alone.
got a big comeback fight. We love Ben Whitaker. We
You
love
better
Ben
leave him
Whitaker.
alone. I
Friend
got,
of the
shout out,
friend of the channel,
shout out to
and
the Gommies. Leave the poor kid
you
alone.
know, and we're wishing him all the best in his big comeback fight. We're wishing him all the best.
Such a sarcastic
Wishing
twat.
him all the best. Look, I'm sure he'll finish the fight on 2 feet this time.
Jesus.
You know,
Well, my thing with this situation with Bivol, since we're on that,
Yeah.
well, I know that the IBF, they're really putting the pressure on.
They will do though, because they're
Because
very strict.
yeah, so I'm expecting Michael Afart to get his either an elevation or a vacant shot against Connor Wallace. But I'm putting it out there. If Connor Wallace is not available, then I would like to see Craig Richards get a shot versus Michael Afart. If he does fight Connor Wallace, Michael Afart, then I want to
Why
see
do you
Craig
keep
Richards.
repeating his name and saying it wrong each time? It's Eifert.
Sorry, Eifert.
I first.
Michael Eifert. If Michael Eifert fights Connor Wallace for the vacant shot, then I would like to see Craig Richards versus Zach Parker, and then the winner of that gets a shot at the winner of Michael Eifert versus Connor Wallace. Yeah, so that's what I'd like to see. But the pressure's on. It seems like the belts might get scattered sooner or later. And as you said, October,
Yeah.
if His Excellency says you know what side your bread's buttered,
Yeah.
you're going to deal with our sanctioning bodies. Then yeah, there's
And
going to be a lot.
People's reiterated that on I Trust in My Team.
Mm.
That was a follow on.
Vadim, World of
Basically
Boxing.
saying, yes, I do as I'm told.
Mm. So what? So how do you see this all playing out, base? Because I know you
Trilogy.
got Benavides waiting in the wings. You've got Callum Smith waiting in the wings. You've got Michael Eifart waiting in the wings.
Callum Smith that said he's not interested in the winner of I can't remember.
Yarden Arthur.
There's a certain
That's it.
British Olympian. He's waiting in the wings. So we're ready to go here.
Yeah, what's your
If I
thoughts
was
on this,
near
Dave?
you, I'd just clark them glasses off your face.
I gotta watch out. There's too much screen time. These are my screen time glasses. I'm getting old. I gotta protect the glasses. I mean the eyes rather.
How do I say it? I think that
Especially when I braid my hair. I don't want to have to take a knee because something goes into my eyes.
Oh
After
my
I braid my
Lord
hair.
in
I
heaven.
got to protect the eyes. Especially when you have long hair, you get your
That's
hair
a
done.
true story, about the grease in the
You
eye.
know,
Can Base get his take off, please?
Sorry, yes, us.
watch that grease.
Benavides is gonna do what he's been doing. He's gonna clean up the rest, or he's gonna try to clean up the rest of the interim titles and become the first undisputed interim light heavyweight
You
champion of
did
the
say
world.
that.
That's the plan. Outside of that, no, I've already told you what I think is gonna happen. He was never going to fight either Better Beef or Bivol.
Facts.
And because in America there's no light heavyweights of
True.
note for him to fight now that David Morrell they've had that fight.
Jesse
So
Hart.
he's not of note.
I
No
know
one
that.
knows Jesse.
You know what? You know what I mean.
Unless Jesse, unless that's like
You're in the UK.
third from bottom on one of those PBC like prime pay-per-view cards, that's still not an interesting fight to the people. So there's no one for him to fight except up at cruiserweight, which is Zerdo Ramirez. I'm telling you, that will be his next. If he doesn't fight for one of those other interim titles, which I don't see it happening, he'll fight Zerdo Ramirez because that's a big
Okay.
Mexico versus Mexico, Ecuador /
I like that.
America fight, and he probably believes that he can beat Zerdo Ramirez, considering they both have fought at 168. He's not a massive cruiserweight. He probably feels like he can walk around similar weight to him, and he can go and be a champion up there, and he can do that away from Saudi in the protection of the US, like he likes. Um, with protection of whatever sanctioning body he's with. I think that's the plan. That's what he's looking to do. I don't think he's got any designs on waiting around for Better Beaver or Beaver. At absolute best, if one of them gets their belt stripped, he'll get elevated to that title, and then he'll move up as a reigning champion to face the unified champion at 200. That's my opinion.
First ever unified interim champion in the history of boxing. Precedent was set when he beat David Morrell Jr. The first time I've ever seen them allow a unification of interim titles.
Yeah, well, he's got two more to get if he wants to clean up and be undisputed interim. So
there you go. So I did want to comment though, because the New York State Athletic Commission did rule that the Lamont Roach, what should have been a Lamont Roach win, was ended up being upheld as a draw.
Yeah.
I didn't really think that was too fair to Lamont Roach.
Well, me and Red spoke about this last week.
Mm-hmm.
My take is a little different, and let me say this before you carry on, because this might also make you think more about what you're gonna say.
Well, I know you're a Dipset fan, so maybe Jim Jones and Joel Santana walking out.
I was never a fan of Dipset.
I thought you liked Dipset.
I was LOX.
Oh, LOX. Okay.
LOX and G Unit, but yeah. No. Look, the reason I think that you can't overturn the decision, you can't change the decision, is because when it happened in the 9th, right? And obviously nothing was done then and there.
Mm-hmm.
Everything after that becomes a quote unquote butterfly effect. So if you now try to go back and retrospectively change what happened in the 9th, well, that we now don't know if that would have changed what then happened in the 10th, the 11th.
True.
Correct. So because you could make the argument that Tank would have fought different.
He might have. Yeah, so because of that, he may have got a knockout. Roach may have got a knockout. But what we do know is if you go back and change that one thing, it then there is a ripple effect, and you can't now change that without changing whatever else happened. So the only way you could feasibly do that would be, in theory, to get them back in the ring, go back to that 9th round, take the point off, carry on the fight from there, and then make them fight the rest of the fight after that, and then try and score it that way. That would be literally the only way you could do it in a
or a no contest,
or
a disqualification. That could have been on the table too, because his corner did flagrantly break the rules.
But here's the problem:
by giving him treatment in the middle of the round.
That's true, but I think the problem with that is you can't disqualify in that moment because the knee touched down, right? So immediately
you're asking for a break.
That's then supposed to be that is a break in the action. When the referee's counting, that's a break right there. So if they've now come up onto the ring apron, which they shouldn't have, but they've come up on there at a moment when the fight is actually paused.
Correct.
So again, it's one of the ones you can't actually disqualify him because the fight is paused at that moment. It's the whole thing is just if you try to change one thing, you end up changing a lot. So that's why they can't overrule it. And everyone's talking about, it's because they New York want Tank to come back. No, it's just because they've got common sense and realize that the butterfly effect is a real thing. You change one thing in that past, it dictates everything that happens after that.
And you can't do that because
it was grease mode during the 9th round. Shout out to Skepta, giving new meaning to the term grease mode. So it is what it is.
Another thing I wanted to mention is with this new TKO league, if they're looking to make it a thing where you can't fight for their title unless you're part of them, then would it be kind of like when because they don't want anyone from, say, the other governing bodies or the other conventional boxing fraternity sector to then take their belt back over to where people would consider, in this day and age, what's the real boxing and real sort of ranking system.
That's what Maestro was on about before. He won't be able to do
it. You know what it's like.
It reminds me of, hold on, because it reminds me of when the WWF/WWE champ took the WCW belt over, and then when they tried to do it with Bret Hart, they said he can't do it, and then you have
The
to go out on the
Montreal
road.
screw job.
Yeah, and they had to do the Montreal screw job because everyone always wanted to see Goldberg versus The Rock or Stone Cold, but Goldberg ended up having to come over to WWE. Is this TKO league going to be like the ECW, where you can have guys like Taz and Samoa Joe, but they ain't quite.
No. I think that what they want to do, base, is do what the UFC does, which is act like they are the real world championship, that there's no other real world championship, and essentially ignore what goes on in the rest of the world. Joe Habib, shout out to Joe Habib, Ringside Reporter Live, was making a comment. He was in my comment section this morning on my video talking about the NBA. And my response to that, well, actually, the NBA does exactly that. Like, the National Basketball Association runs its own championship, gives its own award to a team that's in its league, and totally ignores the fact that FIBA, which governs the sport of basketball, runs its own world championship for clubs that they don't participate in. They don't participate in the FIBA World Championship for clubs. So it would be like the winner of the English Premier League acting like there's no Champions League and no FIFA World Club Cup. Like, they just want to do what they're doing in-house, ignore everybody else, and act like what they have is the only thing that matters. I think if they are going to do the UFC model, that's what the UFC does.
So, yeah, because it's strange. Well, because UFC, they don't do any.
They don't do any
with
cross-promotional unification fights, ever.
Not with Bellator, not with PFL, not with one championship.
They did it once with Pride, and they got destroyed, and they learned their lesson, and they never did it again. Quinton Rampage Jackson destroyed. I think he fought the Iceman Chuck Liddell. They had a few other guys they took out there. They all lost.
Yeah.
So, and I think Dana learned his lesson. He was there sitting front row in Japan. He's like, I'm never doing cross promotion again. I think that's the last time they did cross promotion.
But then, people, I think that where everyone's used to, because I saw someone do a poll on which title means the most, and they even put the ring belt in there as well, and everyone, the highest vote got WBC. So it seems that WBC, whoever's the WBC champ, it seems the general set consensus by boxing fans is, even with this new TKO league coming in and whatever they're going to do, unless you have that green belt, you ain't the guy. And I think it's going to take. I don't think Dana and this Nick Khan and Turkey Al Sheikh, as much money as they might pump into this TKO league, I don't think it will be able to be seen as the real deal over conventional boxing with the likes of the WBC, WBA, IBF, WBO, and even the IBO is getting some sort of getting up there now these days.
Danny, there you go. I just got to say real quick, Base, I do got to get going. But go for it.
No, we're all literally, I think this is the last topic anyway. No, I'm just saying, you keep saying like this Nick Khan guy, you know who he is, right?
No.
He's the CEO of WWE.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of the most powerful guys in sports and entertainment right now.
He's also the guy that negotiated the UFC's contract with ESPN.
Yeah.
He used to be an ESPN executive, I believe.
He's a major guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm out of the loop with WWE, man.
I only knew it because I did research this week.
Yeah, this is research.
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. I didn't research who he was.
Off with his head.
Okay, so with that being said, what's your any final thoughts, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah, I'm going live on my channel real quick. I gotta knock out a quick 30 minutes on this very, very topic. All right, so if you want to see me discuss Dana White the way I like to discuss Dana White, if you want to see me discuss Stephen A. Smith, two men who I consider to be total clowns, by the way, I suggest you come over to my channel. Link is going to be in the chat real quick, and you guys can come watch me cook for a quick 20 to 30 minutes. I know it's very late out there in the UK.
Well, I'll watch it on the way to the gym. I gotta go.
Oh, nice late night session.
late night
I'm
sessions,
start.
baby.
I'm
Late
start. No,
night
because
special.
no, because I'm starting a week fast in support of my all of my Muslim colleagues, and
Water
obviously
fast?
Oh,
the full thing.
the 12 hours.
It's more than 12.
It's 13.
Oh
I
no,
think
he
mine's
13.
16.
No, it's
okay.
13. Four
I've
till
gone
That's
7 days without food.
four
Yeah, I've
four
done
a.m.
that. It's
I ain't done that.
I've never done it without water, but
No,
I
water,
can
no,
do
no.
the 16 hours without water will be fine.
Yeah.
But
Well,
because I'm
fair
gonna
play.
go gym, I'm gonna eat. Obviously, but when I get home, like hydrate as much as I can. Then obviously from 4:30 until
You
6 o'clock,
can't eat.
there won't be any food or drink for me. So
There you go.
Mm. October.
Amazing. Noel, just thank you to all of us and thank you to the chat. You've been funny, entertaining this
Love
evening.
the chat.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been a pleasure to have all of us back together again as well. I think that's been missing. We are literally a jigsaw puzzle, so we do all need to be together. So yeah, onwards, upwards, and onwards to the next one, I guess.
Yes, and there you have it. It's another episode of Fight Talk Live. Make sure you like, subscribe to all of our channels. That's at October Red Media, Maestro A, Base the Kid at the Hardcore Casual, Fight Fan TV Live. Subscribe to all of that and follow on Instagram, Twittex, YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, all of that good stuff. Thank you for tuning in. Also, subscribe to the Fight Talk Live page. The
Yeah.
link will be in the description. And remember, guys, stay ready and persistence beats resistance. You know where it is.
Oh, I love that voice.